Hey there, friends. Jake Paulides, Canadian Missing Project. And that is Huck L. Berry, the infamous one. The big cheese. The good girl. Yes, a good girl. Yes, good girl. Oh, Dad, you hit the spot right there, huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, that feels good. Oh, Dad's a good girl. Dad's a good girl. Yes, a good pup. Yes, you're a good girl. I hit that spot, didn't I? I know, I tried. Okay, friends. There is the movie, the last one I've made, Missing 411 National Parks, Washington State. You can watch it on Amazon right now. Please go watch it and leave a review on Amazon. We need the reviews. Friends, I'm a lot better. I have recovered mightily from a nasty, nasty cold. So, oh yeah, we're right here. We're right here. They're not going anywhere. This is the review of the season finale of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And I've got to say, they did not disappoint. They had the meeting at Salt Lake City at Brandon's office. Jay Stratton was there, the intel official. Hal Pudoff was there. He was a physicist there under Robert Bigelow. Brandon said he was there 30 years ago at the ranch with Bigelow. And Pudoff reported to Jay Stratton. I actually have Jay's phone number. And we have talked a lot when I was at Phenomicon. He and his wife, super nice people. And we've communicated quite a bit about things. Pudoff worked at the CIA under the Pentagon in 2007 to 2012. And they went in and they started to talk. Pudoff was there. They had a whole series of the normal players from Skinwalker Ranch there. Eric started to talk about their findings this year and their reviews of some things. He kind of explained the bubble to everybody who didn't really know. He said it's a giant sphere in the middle of the ranch, above and below ground, right in the middle of the triangle. It's caused rockets to go astray. They actually had a Tesla coil gun that shot like a lightning bolt, and that made the lightning bolt go astray. They had some drone footage looking straight down from the sky into the bubble, and how smoke rings done by this company that has done them thousands of times at various events, how they couldn't get the smoke rings to form. Thousands of shows. And then Dave Mason came on. He's my buddy. He was in our show. The one I just told you. Missing 411 Washington State. Missing 411 National Parks, Washington State. Yeah, Dave was there with his differential FLIR in my movie. Well, Dave played a clip for them looking north while they were doing experiments with the explosions, and Dave's differential FLIR's looking at the Mesa ridgeline, and parts of that ridgeline were heating up as the explosions were going off. And everyone was saying, well, why would those areas be heating up on the ridgeline? And then down below, you could see several rocks suddenly start to heat up as well. Not picked up on anything other than the differential FLIR. And then they showed that it appeared that some areas on the other side of the mesa were also heating up. Pudoff made a comment. He goes, that's amazing. And then they had their first break. And then Travis got on and he talked about the bubble. And he said at 750 to 1,000 feet inside the bubble, there's some type of electromagnetic anomaly. And the top of the bubble was 2,000 feet. And then they had a magnetic anomaly at 3,200 feet. And the way they found that, I remember, is they shot a rocket up through there who had a meter on it, and it indicated it. They had another time where they put 100 drones in the sky earlier this year. They got a special permit from the FAA to fly those drones up to 4,000 feet. Well, the drones got up to 3,271 feet. And they explained that something took over the drones. They kind of went off course momentarily, and then they started to fall. And Travis said something or someone issued a kill command. Eric also said that. Now, interestingly, right before this happened, they picked it up on one of their cameras. There was like a flash in the sky near where these were. They explained it was like a star-like flash. And then they wondered if the UAP triggered this magnetic anomaly at 3,271 feet to cause these drones to suddenly crash. The drone company said it's never happened. And you can imagine that if you had drones over a stadium and they started to crash, oh, that would be a liability issue, because if one of those things hits you in the head, it could kill you. And then Eric and Travis went on to say that almost every test that they've done over the years has produced some kind of UAP in the sky. He said when they probe the bubble, UAPs appear. And then the comment was, where are they coming from? Because they appear from nothing. So I'm going to comment and put in my 2 cents here. They're unwilling to talk about multi-dimensions on this show, I've noticed. Yet, every theoretical physicist in the world agrees that there's as many as 10 or 11 different dimensions. Now, if these UAPs are crossing from one dimension to another and have that ability to do it at will, they could go in and out of our view at any time they wanted to. Or if they had an ability to open a portal and disappear into one, the same thing would happen. So Cameron is Brandon's brother who flies the helicopter, a very nice helicopter, said it's very dangerous to share the airspace with the UAPs. And many people said over the last couple of shows that the UAPs appear to stalk the helicopter. So let's stop there for a second. And I've said this before, and I will say it again, that if this anomaly, this entity, has the ability to make drones crash, interfere with commands, interfere with electronics, interfere with GPS coordinates, and make the GPS coordinates that should be in the sky under the ground, they could also do the same thing to the helicopter mechanics and instruments. And if they did, that would cause a helicopter to crash. Now, they haven't done that yet. But there appears to be concern on the part of many there about this, finally. I think that if that helicopter crashed, that'd be the end of the show. I guarantee Brandon would pull out. It wouldn't be worth it at that point. Pudoff made another comment. He said that multiple witnesses, this is a biggie. Sit down, put your feet up, because this is important. He said that multiple witnesses while he was there saw UAPs come in and out of the mesa, just like we saw a couple years ago when the helicopter was up and a UAP went into the mesa, came out of the mesa at a different location, and then boom, disappeared. Pudoff said that multiple witnesses at the scene, looking at the same object, pay attention. One said they saw a diamond-shaped UAP, another one saw a square, another one saw an oval. He said people saw different things in the same object. Hold everything, folks. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but this one really keyed on me. How could multiple people at the same location, people standing right next to you, shoulder to shoulder, look at the same thing in the sky and see different things? This is what I thought about. Is this really about perception, and the entity is controlling the researcher's perception while they're on the ranch? No one's ever said this. Were they seeing all the same thing, or was nothing there and the entity was implanting the vision in their mind to vocalize? Were they seeing something, but the entity was controlling our thought process on the researchers on the ranch? And so the bigger question is nothing really happening? And was everything a mind control issue? Remember years ago, our government had mind control experiments going on? Is this a mind control experiment at a super advanced level? I don't know. I'm just vocalizing, trying to think out loud, trying to put some rational parameters around what Pudov said other witnesses saw. So just think about that. I mean, you may say Paulides is nuts. Well, I may be, but you got to think outside the box on this. So they went to a break. They come back, and my friend, my good friend, Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee, is on the show. And Jay Stratton spoke up and said he spent hours debriefing Congress, including Tim Burchett, Congressman Burchett. And Burchett believes that extraterrestrial life exists, and we should all be having it told to us, and it should be disclosed. They talked about Cameron being in the helicopter and seeing the UFO in the mesa, come out of the mesa, and then disappear. Burchett said that he's been briefed on very similar top secret sightings in his job. And Eric said that they've experienced high-level interference, GPS interference, where 31 satellites can't get a correct and accurate fix on an instrument. And Travis said that many things in our culture use GPS, and if whatever is doing this can alter instrumentation at a grand level, that's a national security issue. Burchett said he'd follow up at the Pentagon with what he found out from Skinwalker Ranch people. Travis was ecstatic. He's happy that anyone is going to report on what they found, and hopefully they're going to do something about it. And then Pete Kelsey said that he made a discovery on the top of the mesa when he was walking around surveying the area when they were doing different drill sites up there trying to understand what's in the mesa. Then they went to a break. Kelsey said that they'd done multiple LiDAR drills, 4 boreholes. Each of them missed something in the mesa that they shouldn't have missed. And he said when he was walking around and 100 meters north of the drill site, he found a metal survey segment in the ground. And he took a picture of it. The date on it was 1963. And it said USB. And that was, he said, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Well, then everyone spoke up and said, well, that's interesting because remember we found that 1964 nickel in the tailings of the spoils of the drill sites. And then the archaeologists said that it's common practice when they're doing an archaeological dig for people to drop in coins of the year they did the dig. So if that stake was put in the, it's not a stake, it was a metal rod stuck in the ground by the Army Corps of Engineers in 63, was that meant to identify a location that was dug up? Well, then they spoke up and they said from 64 to 68, there's photos of the mesa that are missing in the National Archives. They said someone was surveying, obviously, in 63. And Pete said that northern area that showed interest was south of the marker, 100 meters north of the drill site. Travis said this is evidence that DOD was on the site and interested in something there. Well, not sure. I've been in the middle of nowhere and seen metal survey sticks that have blown my mind. In the middle of nowhere. I've seen U.S. Force survey sticks. I've seen National Park Survey, U.S. Geological Survey probes. I was in the middle of nowhere one day on a hike, and I mean the middle of nowhere. I sat down, I almost sat down next to this round metal thing sitting in the ground as a stationary point drilled into the rock. I'm thinking, what in the heck is that doing here? I don't know. I think that that survey point could have been there for multiple reasons. Remember, I told you before that I think that one of the hundreds of possibilities of what's going on there is that our government, some part of the government, buried something there. Hazardous waste, something of high intellect, I don't know. And maybe that was put in the ground there to indicate where it was buried for the future. Now, why don't they do a Freedom of Information Act request against the Army Corps of Engineers and find out why that was placed there? They never said they did that. So why didn't they do that? Jan Frank, who did the GPR scans, he was there weeks and weeks ago, and when they drilled the borehole through the mesa, he pulled a small item through the borehole, and he found some things in the mesa that led to drilling boreholes on the top of the mesa going down, because his GPR devices indicated exactly where they were. They drilled the 4 boreholes, and they missed every time. Nobody could explain that. In fact, some people said that the items inside the mesa were moving. They said that, not me. Well, this time, in the 4-foot boreholes they drilled on top, they had pushed one of the bigger LiDAR devices down each side of the giant borehole to get a high definition scan of what was in there. Now, originally, they thought that this thing was down there very deep. Now, suddenly, Jan says it's only down 18 to 20 feet. Well, that's not very deep. Everyone was stunned. And Travis said, well, we've been looking in the wrong place. Oh, jeez. And then Travis said, something in that mesa, he said it, is messing with our instruments. So maybe what the GPR is saying is right there, isn't right there. Maybe it's using some kind of refraction, something to mess with their coordinates. Now, Brandon asked Pudoff if Bigelow's team had ever shown any interest in the Mesa or ever gotten any results of something being in the Mesa. He said never. He said they've never paid attention to it. I get that. I'm not sure if they had to do it all over again, if they would put any emphasis in it. I think that whatever is in that triangle, in that bubble, is way more important that's in that than is in that Mesa. That's my personal feeling. And each of the members of the team put great importance on preserving whatever's in the Mesa. I still don't understand that. Why not just bring in a big excavator and dig it up? Why? Why the big mystery? I mean, archaeologically, they could dig anything up, and they're not going to destroy it. So why not just dig it up? I don't understand that part. But, I'm not that smart. So Travis then said, well, is the device in the Mesa jamming Jan's device? So I sat through an hour and 5 minutes of the show. It was interesting. I liked it. There were no big revelations, but I watched every show all through the year. But the next revelation is good. And I suppose they've been sitting on this all year waiting to drop the bomb on us to just tease us into next year. But it's a good tease, folks. Travis explained that an Italian research group utilized satellite radar to look under the ground at the giant pyramid. Dr. Biondi, in March of 2025, found structures under the pyramid. And what he did is he used a satellite that emitted electromagnetic bursts, like vibrations into the ground, to scan inside the earth. Travis asked the doctor, because he was on, what was the maximum depth? And he said 1 to 5 kilometers. Oh, that's deep. And Biondi said he would work with the Skinwalker team to do what they wanted. Travis asked, how long after the scan does it take to crunch the data? And he said 6 months. Well, that's not good, because if they did it that first episode, we'd have to wait till year 9 to get the results. So hopefully they're doing that right now and they'll have it ready for next year. I don't know. If I was at Phenomenon, I'd find out, but I don't know. My other question would be, why not use that technology on the triangle? Because remember, every time they dig on that triangle, something would happen, and the deeds on the prior property said you couldn't dig there. So is there something buried on the triangle under the bubble? Well, why not use this technology there as well? While you're scanning, why not do the Mesa and the triangle? But they never brought up the triangle. I'm just saying. Am I out of line? I don't know. And then Pudoff said, I'm in awe of what your team has done. And he said, please continue. He said, you're making a difference. Now, coming from one of the greatest physicists of our time, all of you people out there who hate the show, who make fun of it, buzz off. Buzz off. I recently saw George Knapp do an interview with Robert Bigelow. And he asked Bigelow, what was one of the reasons you pulled off of the ranch? Bigelow said, I got frustrated. We weren't making any progress. We weren't getting anywhere. He was essentially saying that the entity was outthinking him. Now, what's the agenda of this entity? That was the question. And I've said this before, and again, I may be entirely out of line, but I think this all the time. Is the entity studying the researchers? I actually told this to Colm Kelleher, the person who had Travis Taylor's job under Bigelow. And he didn't say no. And here's my theory. Dozens of top flight intellects of the human race have been on that property. Dozens. And could this entity be studying the reactions of those researchers, of those top minds in the world? Studying how they react, how their mind thinks through things, seeing if they can control how they react, how their mind thinks, and what they see? And then how the researchers' families respond, and the differences in the families' minds to theirs. Why do I say that? Hitchhikers. Remember, these researchers brought the entities home with them, and the wives and the kids saw unusual things at home. What's the point in following them home unless you're studying them? Think about that. And under Bigelow and under this team, you tell me the physical evidence that they've recovered that points to what this is. Physical evidence? Well, they see a lot of cool things. They found some little pieces of metal. But evidence? Think about that. Images are not evidence. And then, how far will that entity go to push the researchers to see how far and how committed they are to the project? Remember when they were first out there? Thomas Witherton got radiation on the back of his head, got a big bubble on the back of his head, and Travis Taylor got a radiation burn. And remember how they reacted is they immediately stopped excavating in the triangle. Also, they've killed animals on that site. Were they looking to see how the human reacted to the killing of the animal? Because the killing of the animal didn't point to any major scientific reason. But even before Bigelow got there were cattle mutilations on that site. So was the entity researching the ranchers in the way they're researching the researchers now? If the entity is truly trying to do a case study on the brightest minds on this earth, and remember, the Department of Defense was there for 2 years under Bigelow, and they put the brightest minds from the military on that property as well. And from everything I understand, they got nothing. And there was some belief that if they continued, then the perception may be that they were studying a demonic entity, and they thought there were some rumors that maybe that's the reason they pulled out. I want to just give you some food for thought as we close out the year at Skinwalker Ranch. And you may say, well, Paulides is just full of garbage. Well, I get that. That's okay. But there's something going on there that nobody understands. And I find ultimately intriguing. Near the end of the show, Brandon invited Tim Burchett out to the ranch. And Tim said he was going to go. I need to give him a call and tell him to smoke himself before he goes on there, because his wife and his daughter will not like him bringing entities home. Friends, I thank you for being here. And I find Skinwalker Ranch one of the most intriguing stories modern day. And if you don't believe it, I don't care. I really don't. Because I've known too many of the people on that ranch. Too many have high integrity. People are saying, oh, it's all staged. That's bull crap. It's not staged. Kindness. If you think I'm crazy at the end of the show, just say it in a nice way. And we need to be nice to each other. If we all just took a big dose of kindness, and every day when we walked out our door, got into our car and drove down to the city and went into the supermarket or went into the post office, and we just put a smile on our face and said, hey, thank you very much for your help at the end whenever we were assisted, that'd probably just make everyone's day. So, I appreciate you being here. A big reminder, huge reminder. If you're in Seattle on September 10th, I'm going to have a book release event. If you go to Gather Up Events under the Missing 411 Cruise site, it's open to the public. I'm going to release Missing 411 Alaska the day before the Alaska cruise. That'd be kind of fun, huh? But the public can come. It's not just the cruise members. Come on down. There's going to be some food, some drinks. I'll sign some books. I'll give a little talk. And appreciate if you're in Washington, get on over there. Be safe. Be kind. Paulides out.